Rupert the Bear.
All right, well, go ahead.
Okay, so this is living proof, almost living, that I'll read almost anything. Rupert the Bear. I think this might have been one of Paul McCartney's favorite reads when he was a young sprat. Maybe he's a little bit older too. He's a little bit older than me. He might still read these sorts of things. This is kind of a weird sort of format. You get the picture, and the pictures I think are quite nice. There's Rupert the Bear, and there's a doggy. They tend to be white, which isn't that thrilling. And there's a badger. Is this an anteater? I'm not sure. Forgotten. I read it quite a while back. I finished up. I just forgot to bring it around. There's another teddy bear. And stuff like that. When was this published? I think it goes back quite a while. I don't know if this book belongs to. I haven't put my name on James Alexander Bell. I would have loved this when I was a kid, I think. But it was a slow read, I gotta say. So I was going, and nice pictures, and then they've got the story in prose form, and then they have kind of like a précis of the story in poetic form. And it is poetry. It's not very good poetry. Half the time it's quite good, and then they invert. They try to rhyme on a verb, and it doesn't work. But when they don't do that, it's actually pretty good verse. They don't necessarily go for the obvious rhyme. They actually do tell the story in poetic form, but some of the time it's not English. They invert. So I almost got an itch to just go through and turn it into because more than half the time the verse is perfectly good. It tells the story, and it's in English. But maybe a third of the time, it's the couplets or whatever is done in couplets. Aren't they aren't any. Do I recommend this? Don't. I'm sure they still market these. Don't waste your money either ordering them up from England, or there might be some places, bigger bookstores in some of the bigger cities in Canada and in North America in general that might stock these sorts of things. But, I do know that when I was a sprat in Africa, they had a lot of these things. Like my dad even bought me some Boer woolly. Pauline's seen some Boer woolly in her time, and there were other things. Some of the kids in the residence school I went to was in Africa. It was a what would you call it? It's the kids were sent there. It was mission school, a boarding school is what they would call it. And it wasn't like residence school for natives here, indigenous people here, because the kids, their parents weren't required to send their kids. Right? There wasn't an attempt to beat the culture out of the kids or whatever. And but I don't know if the kids were that enthused about it. I mean, who wants to go to religious school, especially one that would be pretty darn strict by comparison? Most other schools. Now we had to wear uniforms and all that sort of stuff, but I think most schools back then had to. And like after the rainy season, it got pretty cold. It got down to freezing. You'd have to wear these short pants and short sleeve shirts. I think they were short sleeve shirts. Maybe they had long sleeve. And you wore these funny little hats and all this sort of stuff. When they were over there first, I kind of liked them because they were khaki. I like khaki colored things, but when we came there the second time, that was after a hiatus of 3 years, they changed it to gray uniforms. And I know from doing the color test, I don't like brown. I don't like black. I don't like gray. But I prefer brown because, like, when you did the color test, you said it looked like orange, And I like color. There is some color there. It's toned with gray, but it's color with gray. It's basically orange with gray. So I like the khaki kind of shirts, and pants. What I really didn't like was you had to wear these stupid ties. And ties are like, you're getting garroted by society, you know? You're lucky if it doesn't, I'm being melodramatic here. It's kind of lucky if it doesn't kill you. But it does suppress you. Anyway, Rupert the Bear. But, you know, if you kind of like this sort of stuff, you might like it. You know what I'm saying? If you've read Woolies, the kids like the war ones. You know, there were World War II war ones, World War I war ones. I like those too. You know, I like the Woolies, except I couldn't figure out what are they saying. I had trouble enough with Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, the American dialect, but the Scottish one, what was he saying? Woolly. Anyway, there's not much dialect in it. Rupert the Bear. Somewhere along the line, I think Paul McCartney did a video with Rupert the Bear, cartoon of it or something like that. I just get the feeling he liked, or she still likes Rupert the Bear. And if Paul, if you're watching, Paul James McCartney, I think James is, you know, keep it up, buddy. It's one of the things that's keeping you young. Is I want you to be doing tuneful tunes until you're past 100. No, not enough people are doing it. You know? It's so sad when you got a guy that, what is he, 11 years older than me or something like that. He's, I think he's 12 years older than me. So he must be about 78 or something like that.
Well,
yeah. So you got anything to talk about?
You'd wanted to talk about the CBC. And I'd forgotten yesterday there actually was something important on the CBC on the way to our hike.
Yeah.
It was a woman being interviewed. I'm eating chili and it's spicy.
Is it?
Usually I give James all the chili.
Yeah. But she has to put it with rice.
And
or potatoes.
This time I thought, you know, I want chili.
Yeah.
I never eat the chili because James always wants the chili.
I love chili. I feel guilty because it's Pauline's recipe and it's her effort and all that sort of stuff.
But anyway, so I decided to eat some chili. But I'll probably save the rest that I found for James. Because I have all my preserves, all my food boxed up. And I just have been eating
impressive.
it all.
I think even the Mormons would be envious of what Pauline has done.
Yeah, I did
it's
something
stunning.
amazing. Anyway, so we were listening to the CBC on the way to the hike yesterday, and there was a woman being interviewed, and she was saying that she still has, it's been months, and she still has, she's still affected by COVID.
That was awful. I've heard people kind of coming out
and
of
you
COVID
could hear
right away.
She was going,
but I think she was
and then
saying
she'd
3
talk
months
a little
later,
bit, and then she'd. So you could hear it. She was having some pain, and
discomfort. You know, which would be even more than the pain.
So she said it was this for the longest time. I was like, why aren't they giving more information on what to expect for symptoms and stuff like that? I was really upset about it because it's like here in Canada we have it's not a mandatory testing program. They're not going around and testing everybody. And so this figure from we have so many new cases today, so many new cases this day, whatever, is really a lie. Because they don't know how many new cases they have. They're not doing mandatory testing. People are volunteering to get tested if they think that they have COVID or they feel like getting tested.
They have mandatory testing where there's an outbreak.
Well, you would hope so in like some of those senior centers. Yeah. But anyway.
You know, they might not.
So James and I, we were sick a couple times, but one time we were really sick and early on in the COVID thing.
Yeah, it was about a month ago.
Okay, about a month ago. But our symptoms weren't like, we'd heard about the terrible migraine and this and that, and we were like, we had weird symptoms like, James said it just sounded like a blood pressure thing, you know?
It felt like low blood pressure.
Yeah.
I've
Because,
experienced that.
like, I couldn't get up out of bed for a few days. I'd try to, wait so that I'd go to the bathroom rarely, because when I'd go, I'd often fall over. I was just feeling so faint,
So I knew that I had low blood pressure. Why?
Yeah.
I only showed the symptoms of almost fainting, the
Yeah.
symptom of almost fainting, for less than a day.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. Like, I
Mhm.
just finished using the washroom,
Yeah. Like I
and
had.
the exertion there, and it
Mhm.
wasn't constipation or anything like
Yeah.
that. I got up from it. I hadn't had any trouble, and then all of a sudden, I knew that I had to get down low in
'Cause
case
you were
I
just
fainted,
gonna fall
because
down.
I have
Yeah,
fainted in
I
that
know.
situation. The world was spinning around me,
Yeah.
and all I had to do was hydrate, and I got better. Now, a week or week and a half before, I know I had low blood pressure, because they were saying, ordinarily, they will, ever since I started taking this
Goes
new
for cancer
chemo,
treatment.
my blood pressure's been almost like perfect, like
Mhm.
80 or 85. I think that's relatively perfect. And all of a sudden they're saying, your bottom number, that's the bottom number. The bottom number's 61.
Mhm.
And they weren't concerned about it, but they were saying that was a low end of what they considered normal. And I'm going, where did that come from? And then about a week and a half later, all of a sudden I'm getting a symptom that you'd correlate with low blood pressure.
Yeah. But
So
anyway,
and then
so
Pauline shows up with
I
the
had-
same thing,
Yeah.
roughly the same thing.
well, I guess you had the testing for low blood pressure first, but I had the sickness first and then 3 days later he had it. And mine seemed worse than his. But I wondered what, like, it was like nothing I'd ever had before. And I wondered, well, could this be COVID, And then I thought, well, it can't possibly be, because I didn't die, so, because you'd think I would.
I'd be much
think
more
we
likely to
would.
die. I'm quintuply immunosuppressed. There's a 5% chance, I'd say,
Anyway,
someone
so
my age of dying.
we had no idea, and James was like, should I go get tested? He was thinking, and then it cleared up for you the next day. Like, it was just one day, and so you thought, well, I guess that's not it.
The thing is, like,
But-
you don't gum up the works, A. B, I don't want to get exposed to whomever. I don't know what sort of
Yeah.
protocol they got for people waiting and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, who knows?
So
So
we're almost certain to run across someone who's got
who
COVID.
may have COVID? So you think do I have it? And then, oh, well, you for sure do afterwards, or whatever.
So I haven't seen anything that answers to that
No.
description.
But
As a
so
symptom of
I don't
COVID.
think we had something there. I don't think we had COVID, but like I was telling my mom, we didn't go get tested, and I bet there's a lot of people who just ride it out and say, well, I'm feeling a bit better. I guess there's no point in getting tested. It wasn't COVID. Maybe they're just carriers for, maybe they're not. Who knows, right? Anyway, so this woman was on reporting her symptoms, and she didn't say anything about a migraine. She said,
Scratchy throat.
Yeah, scratchy throat was the first
At the
thing
back.
at the
And
back.
she was saying something
And she
where
said it
you'd
was like a
cough
little cough, like just a
every 20 minutes.
yeah, like not much. And then she said she didn't think it was COVID at all. And then all of a sudden the sickness really hit her, and her lungs just filled up with egg whites, she said. And then she got really sick, and she had a fever, and then finally she
Fatigue.
decided that's it.
It wasn't a high
they
fever,
went
she
to
seemed
the
sound.
hospital afterwards. And it turned out she did have COVID, but and she's still having
3 months later.
still having
So much for the
difficulty
14
from
days.
it, and it seems like she's having some sort of neurological kind of problem too, and
Yep.
and she says doctors aren't listening to people who say that they still have symptoms, and so she's been trying to help people, but she'll spend an hour on the phone, and then she can only go up her stairs 3 times in a day, and she's done.
The
That's
fourth
all
time she's saying
she has no energy.
Yeah, you all talk her down.
That's it. Or she's on the phone for an hour twice, and that's it. She can't do anymore, you know? So, so she's still having a lot of symptoms, and she said she was a journalist, so she had a decent vocabulary and stuff like that, and she'd never had any problems with spelling words or whatever, right?
Or finding the appropriate word.
Finding the appropriate word. But then she said it took her like days to find. She was thinking of a word, and it was just I can't remember what it was, but it was a pretty basic word. And she couldn't think of it. She was like, I can't think of what that word is, and for days. So it seemed like she had some sort of a
neurological deficit.
Some kind of effect. I don't know.
Now, she was saying she's still feeling it. And it's all comparative. She sounded very articulate.
She did.
But she might not have been as articulate as
she used to be. And so that's just it, you know, it's noticeable for her, right?
Here's the deal. We don't know if they're relapses.
Exactly.
Serious relapses.
The thing about COVID is this whole, we'll worry about it when we get to it thing. And it's like, what? You worry about it. You don't know about what the long-term effects will be, so you have to be even more cautious. You don't just, care to the wind. Let's just do whatever we want.
It's more like 4 sheets to the wind. It's like they're drunk.
Yeah.
It's just behaving like drunkards. You know, they're like behaving like drunk drivers. You know, I know what I'm doing. You know, I can handle things. Yeah, not really. And it's not just Donald Trump. It's pretty well everyone. The provincial governments down in the Atlantic provinces, kudos to them.
Yeah.
Somehow or another, it's worked out with these crazy, I think they're populist governments in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. But I think they benefited from having predecessors by times that were NDP.
But anyway,
The same thing with the half-populist government that we've got here in Alberta. They're very, very lucky that, and we are very lucky. We had 4 years of NDP preceding them.
Yeah. Yeah, because they wanted to cut the Conservatives wanted to cut health care.
Yep. And they're going through with it with the doctors.
Oh boy.
They're doing all sorts of skunky things.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, little kids could end up carrying around. I mean, you carry around chicken pox. You get chicken pox, you carry around the virus for that. Mm-hmm. It lives dormant, whatever, along your spine, and then when you're weakened, it comes out as shingles. So you carry it around forever. You don't know.
Had that done to me.
You don't know that you have it.
I don't recommend it to anyone.
It's in me. I had chickenpox when I was little, so I know if I get a really weakened system, well, I'm going to get shingles. You know.
It's absolutely brutal. I've never experienced pain remotely like it.
Yeah, and so you don't know. I mean, when you catch things, it's really it's better to err on the side of caution. You know, you don't want to catch it. Like it used to be before they didn't know about the shingles thing. So it used to be somebody would get chickenpox and people would say, oh, well, it's good if you get chickenpox because it's worse if you get chickenpox when you're older. And it's like, well, it's better if you don't get chickenpox at all.
Yeah.
Really. So, but I have it. It's along my spine somewhere, right? So.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of catching things, another right-winger, a Republican governor of Oklahoma caught COVID. So I know you say you're being more than fair when you say people who catch it shouldn't be shamed, but if they're going around like this idiot attended one of Donald Trump's, coming out parties or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And when they do that, then they should be shamed. Boris Johnson going around shaking hands with people with COVID and stuff like that, and then he catches it. Bolsonaro, the not leader of Brazil, they should be shamed.
Well, when people are careless, deliberately careless about it, to try to encourage people to not be safe, to not act in a safe fashion, and to put other people's lives at risk, then yes, they need to be called on it. It needs to be...
Absolutely. And almost every case, it's been a right-winger. And a populist right-winger, too. So, shame on you, Governor of Oklahoma. Considering what you're saying, you deserve to die.
Oh, that's severe. But,
It's severe, but it's true. You don't know how many people are going to die because they're going to be trying to maintain that guy alive. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I know. I mean, it's like what I was saying earlier. The people who came back to Canada, when they called all the vacationers, the Ruby Princesses and whatever, back to Canada. Well, the ventilators were open for them then. So those people, they come back with COVID, bring it back to everyone else in Canada, spread it around, and they have a ventilator waiting for them. So they're more likely to live.
Yep.
But then when it spreads, and all of a sudden there's not enough ventilators to go around, how is that fair?
It's not. Like when someone has actually come out and said, I'm not social distancing and stuff like that, they should go to the bottom of the waiting list. Doesn't matter what age they are, anything like waiting lists for ventilators, waiting lists for hospital beds and stuff like that. If it's been caught on tape, you can't deny it. And it should be automatic.
Anyway.
What else was I going to say? Oh yeah. This is something like the 35th anniversary of Live Aid. And they were interviewing Bob Geldof at CBC. Tom Power, or he's known by me, Tom Powerless. And Bob Geldof was saying, like rock and roll did something. They can't do anything now because it's not a moving force. And he's right about that. Moving force is rap. Rap doesn't move anything. I don't know. I was going to work crudely and stuff like that, but I'm not going to. It's not a positive force. I'm not going to actually say it's a negative force. But he was saying, I know there'd be all sorts of left-wingers just gritting their teeth. He's saying he got Tony Blair on board. And they actually did some debt relief, forgiving debt to third world. I'm going, that's like giving someone a fish instead of teaching them how to fish. You can keep on. They've been doing debt relief since the 70s. And the weird thing is, when they relieved debt in the 70s, the debt wasn't technically it wasn't. It was just banks lending money to people to buy what? It was oil. So what was happening was you had a lot of Western banks subsidizing a lot of scummy Middle East dictatorships, either the fundamentalist ones like Saudi Arabia or Iran after 79, or the Nazi commie ones like Gaddafi in Libya, Saddam Hussein in Iraq, and sadly there were others in the Sudan. Well, that was a fundamentalist one. So it wasn't. What it basically was third world countries, basically in Africa, to a certain extent in Latin America, getting oil, kind of keeping their economies going. And who was subsidizing it? It was a bunch of Western banks giving money to people trying, in the case of Saddam Hussein, Muammar Gaddafi, he admitted it. He was trying to build a nuclear arsenal. Brilliant! Brilliant. That didn't help the world out. It didn't. So, at any rate, he was saying they managed to achieve something. You know, one of the smartest things I ever heard coming from a rock and roll political type of person was Bob Geldof. Back in the day, I think it was when Live Aid concert was going on, he collared, and he should have collared him really tightly. And this is Gorbachev, actually. He collared him because Gorbachev was in power then. He should have gone like this. And he said, when are you going to do something about what's actually causing the crisis? And that's when I started looking at what caused the crises in Biafra and in Bangladesh. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Western capitalism. It was war, civil war. Mm-hmm. And the civil war was being pushed by the Ruskies, the commies in Ethiopia. That's what was causing the famine. And Bob Geldof had actually done his homework. And he says to Gorbachev, when are you going to do something about it? And Gorbachev was a politician. He kind of begged off. Now, Bob Geldof is saying, this is a different problem now with COVID. It's the same problem, different commies. Okay? And where did it work its way through? Ethiopia. It's no longer the Ruskies that are running the commies there. It's the Maoists, latter-day Maoists coming out of China. Okay? The PRC, in case you're going to get it all confused, you stupid politically correct people who are out there. In case you're still tuned in. So they're the ones who are, you know, pulling the strings, the purse strings, basically, in Ethiopia. They're the ones who are financing Tedros, the head of WHO, and, you know, that guy has got his hands in the Chinese pockets, and he knows exactly. He's been singing the Chinese tune, you know, like from even before the beginning of COVID, but definitely since COVID. It's just been, hey, they're doing a great job initially. They're doing, you know, like, don't close down travel with them. That would be racist. No, that would be sensible. That would be sensible. Like I've said many a time, any country, like if we've got an outbreak here, bad outbreak, and they don't have an outbreak there, this would apply to provinces. I don't want people in the Atlantic provinces taking anyone from Alberta. That helps us out. Because what it means is if or when we do get our outbreak under control, we don't have to worry about it coming in from them. And that's the way the Chinese should have been thinking and talking and acting. Please, don't send anyone here. Don't take any tourists from us. Because when we get this under control, we don't want anyone coming back, either a Chinese citizen or someone getting it over, some native of North America getting it and bringing it in. Mm-hmm. That's the way I feel as an Albertan. I don't want anyone taking getting any COVID from Alberta and having a chance to come back to us. The whole thing is the world should kill this off, COVID-19,